questions. That's what Baldwin County investigators are going over right now after a huge money seizure along I-65.
Today, the Interstate Interdiction Task Force found this money in a search of a semi on I-65 in Baldwin County.
Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. What the feds just uncovered in Floyd Mayweather's house is terrifying. They're going after Floyd Mayweather's bag. Remember the brother that walked around with $100 million check in his bag, said he ain't even got to cash it? Well, they on his line.
Floyd Mayweather has reportedly hit rock bottom. And this isn't just another flashy headline. From luxury jets and multi-million-dollar paydays to rumors of scams, lawsuits, and a staggering $42 million financial mess, the boxing legend may finally be facing the consequences of a life spent chasing wealth. Is this the collapse of one of sports' most controversial dynasties? Or the biggest money fiasco in athletic history? Let's dive in. Floyd Mayweather's story begins far from the glitz and glamour. Growing up in New Brunswick, New Jersey, he shared a tiny one-bedroom apartment with 6 family members. Heat was a luxury, lights were scarce, and silver spoons didn't exist. His mother struggled with addiction, while his father, also a boxer, was frequently behind bars. Boxing wasn't just a sport, it was survival. Floyd's childhood memories were shaped by struggle, darkness, and cold nights, not trophies or cameras. Yet through it all, he didn't complain. He trained relentlessly to be why the 1996 Olympics, when he claimed a bronze medal, Mayweather had already honed the mindset of a champion. Early in his professional career, he earned the nickname Pretty Boy Floyd, fast, slick, technically masterful, and nearly untouchable inside the ring. But outside the spotlight, challenges loomed larger than any opponent. Despite dominating his fights, Floyd felt undervalued. Under top-ranked promotions, he was pulling in a fraction of what his bouts actually earned, sometimes bringing home a few million while the fights raked in tens of millions. Everything shifted in 2006. Mayweather made the daring choice to buy out his contract with Top Rank for $750,000, a high-stakes bet on himself few athletes would dare make. Walking away from the security of a major promoter meant he had to construct his career from the ground up. But Floyd's ambition went beyond being just a fighter. He wanted to become a mogul. That decision marked the birth of Money Mayweather. With his own company, he wasn't just fighting for belts anymore. He was fighting for total control and the fortune that came with it. With Mayweather Promotions, Floyd seized full control over his fights, his brand, and most importantly, the money. Almost instantly, his earnings skyrocketed. Within a few years, he was pocketing over $100 million per fight, claiming the title of the world's highest-paid athlete, and redefining how boxers could run their careers. But massive paydays came with equally massive complications. Floyd didn't just reinvent himself. He transformed the entire business of boxing. The soft-spoken pretty boy was gone. In his place emerged Money Mayweather, a man surrounded by private jets, Bugattis, and watches worth more than most homes, all proudly displayed on social media. He carried his arrogance like armor, showing up to press conferences dripping in luxury, tossing cash to the crowd, and taunting opponents with surgical precision. And somehow, it worked that he became the most despised figure in boxing. And he knew exactly what he was doing. Floyd understood a truth few athletes grasp. Fans don't have to love you to spend money on you. In fact, the angrier they were, the more they paid. People tuned in hoping to see him falter. And when he didn't, they came back for more, fight after fight. In marketing terms, he had become the ultimate villain. Impossible to ignore, impossible to stop watching. Inside the ring, he fought with unmatched intelligence. He handpicked opponents, exploited psychological tactics, and walked away with both victory and massive paychecks. His record remained spotless, 50 wins, 0 defeats. Outside the ropes, the admiration was complicated. Fans lauded his defensive brilliance, but scorned his ostentation. Analysts praised his tactical genius, while questioning his ego. His self-promotion was unrivaled, but so was the criticism. Mayweather wasn't just a fighter. He was a brand, a lifestyle, a paradox in motion. He didn't care about respect. He cared about eyes on him. And the world watched, relentlessly. Along with staggering success came staggering indulgence, Floyd Mayweather's. Lifestyle wasn't just flashy, it was the stuff of legend. From strolling into Gucci carrying $1 million in a single duffel bag to shutting down entire shopping centers for $15 million private sprees, Floyd lived as if consequences simply didn't exist. His social media became a living catalog of excess. Rows of exotic cars, diamond-studded watches worth more than most homes, and wads of cash strewn across hotel beds like confetti. One of his watches alone reportedly cost $18 million. But while Floyd's bank account soared, his personal relationships began to crumble. The first signs of tension appeared at home. Floyd's father, his early trainer, openly admitted that their once close bond frayed as Floyd's fame and spending grew. Boxing had once united them, but as wealth became the focus, distance replaced connection. "We never had arguments," his father reflected, "until the money came in. It stopped being about training, it became about pride, control, and who got the credit." Next came the fallout with 50 Cent, once a close friend and business ally. Their friendship made headlines, but eventually, money came between them. 50 Cent later said Floyd became obsessed with wealth, valuing dollars over loyalty. Disputes over unpaid investments and a growing sense that people were expendable led to a bitter split. Perhaps the sharpest betrayal, though, was with Gervonta "Tank" Davis, Mayweather's prized protege. Tank accused Floyd of deliberately keeping him dependent, handing out only scraps to maintain control. Despite fame and huge fight purses, Tank felt used. A pawn in a game Floyd played for power and profit, more like a pawn than a partner. "They put you in a position where you always need them," Tank said. To the outside world it looks like help, but really it's manipulation. And these weren't isolated incidents. They were part of a recurring pattern. As Floyd's fortune grew, the trust around him dwindled, and the people who had once been closest began to drift away. His wealth was undeniable, but so was the price he paid to hold on to it. Every mansion erected, every relationship severed, raised the same haunting question. Was this the cost of greatness or just greed? As Floyd's bank account swelled, so did his ego, and not everyone was applauding. While his skill in the ring remained unquestioned, his arrogance became impossible to ignore, especially when he openly dismissed legends like Muhammad Ali. In a notorious interview, Floyd declared, "Out of all these fighters in boxing history, I've accomplished more than every single one of them." He criticized Ali's losses, including one to Leon Spinks, who had only 7 professional fights, and even claimed Ken Norton had defeated Ali all 3 times they met. Claims widely disputed by historians and analysts. The backlash was swift. ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith called Floyd's remarks blasphemous, emphasizing that a fighter's legacy isn't just about wins and losses. It's about what they stood for. Ali fought not only inside the ropes, but outside them, championing civil rights, dignity, and causes bigger than himself. Mayweather, Smith argued, seemed motivated solely by money. Even Mike Tyson weighed in, warning that Floyd's obsession with himself was dangerous. Having navigated the highs and isolation of superstardom himself, Tyson suggested that Floyd's detachment from humility could harm both his relationships and his soul. Public sentiment reflected this critique. Fans didn't always watch Mayweather fights out of admiration. They watched hoping to see him fall. Rooting against him became a spectator sport in itself. Inside the ring, his brilliance was unquestionable. Outside it, he had become the ultimate symbol of unchecked ego, a villain whether by design or consequence. This narrative cut deepest for Gervonta "Tank" Davis, Floyd's former protege. Tank didn't just sever ties professionally. He walked away emotionally, leaving behind the loyalty he once felt and exposing the human cost of Floyd's empire and accusing Floyd of keeping him dependent rather than empowering him. Davis described a calculated, almost invisible form of control, providing just enough support to maintain loyalty, but never enough to allow independence. His words carried no bitterness, only a deep sense of hurt, almost like a cautionary tale for anyone entering Floyd's orbit. The richer Floyd became, the wider the gaps grew. His personal relationships were straining under the weight of his success, leaving the world to wonder. When does ambition turn legacy into collateral damage? After retiring undefeated in 2017, Floyd Mayweather had the chance to leave the sport on a perfect note, as a legend frozen in time. Instead, he pivoted into a controversial new chapter, the age of exhibition fights. It kicked off with a headline-grabbing match against Japanese kickboxer Tenshin Nasukawa, followed by a spectacle against YouTube sensation Logan Paul. Profitable as they were, many in the boxing world dismissed these bouts as sideshows, lacking real stakes, competition, or any sense of traditional sporting legitimacy. Critics didn't hold back. MMA veteran and outspoken analyst Chael Sonnen remarked, "Floyd's still fighting because he needs the money." Sonnen argued that the superstar never truly earned as much as headlines suggested, and that these exhibitions were motivated by necessity rather than passion. Boxing promoter Eddie Hearn also weighed in, calling the events naff and suggesting they had lost relevance among serious fans, failing to draw the blockbuster pay-per-view numbers of Mayweather's prime. Reflecting on Mayweather's early 2023 fight at London's O2 Arena, Hearn added, "I don't know anyone who even knew the fight was happening." Controversy followed beyond the ring. Logan Paul publicly claimed that Mayweather hadn't paid him his full share from their bout, sparking debate and adding yet another layer to the story of a fighter whose pursuit of wealth now seemed inseparable from conflict, adding more fuel to mounting questions about Floyd's financial transparency. Deji, another influencer who stepped